In today's podcast, we'll talk about the LDA Standard Contract. Why do we use the contract? Because it's required under California law. What should the contract say? What specifically are the terms and disclosures? What is required when entering into contracts in languages other than English? We'll go over the mandatory translation requirements. The legal document assistant contract that must be used by LDAs while providing self-help services to litigants representing themselves in legal matters is set out in Title 16, Division 38, Chapter 5 of the California Code of Regulations under legal document assistance. The contract we use as LDAs is regulated by the Department of Consumer Affairs. Always use a contract when working with customers. If a customer is requesting a self-help service and you are receiving any form of compensation from them as an LDA, you must use a contract. The contract was created to protect both the LDA and the consumers. The LDA contract helps both parties clearly lay out and understand the terms regarding payments, the scope of work for the self-help services, and cancellations. Click the link in the description for a copy of the contract. Specifically, the regulations under the California Code of Regulations, subsection A state, every legal document assistant as defined in subdivision C, section 6400 of the Business and Professions Code, who enters into a contract or agreement with the client to provide self-help services shall complete the standard form contract specified in subdivision B. So what does this regulation say under subsection A? It says that if you are an LDA, you must use the contract, and goes on to say, if you have entered into an agreement to provide a self-help service as an LDA, you must use this contract. So not only is using this contract the law, using a contract is standard business practice that protects the LDA and the consumer in business transactions. Having a written contract will help you on many occasions clear up any misunderstandings before the contract is signed and even after the contract is signed. And you'll be glad that you have a document with the terms in writing, because sometimes the customer's memory fades, but the signed contract's written terms don't change. In addition, Section A goes on to say, upon execution of the contract by all parties and prior to providing any service, the legal document assistant shall give a copy of the contract to all client parties. So after everyone signs the contract, the LDA must give all clients a copy of the signed contract before starting any work or providing any service. All right, moving on to the next two sentences of subsection A. The contract shall be in English and in any other language understood by the client and principally used in any oral sales presentation or negotiation leading to execution of the contract. So in other words, the LDA's contract must be in English and must also be in any other language that was used and understood by the consumer during the LDA's sales presentation or negotiation, which led to the LDA and the consumer agreeing to sign the contract. So let's say you're meeting with the customer representing themselves in a legal matter, looking for self-help form preparation services. They've reached out to you speaking in Spanish, and you both negotiated and agreed on the terms of the scope of the project in Spanish. Then after you both sign the contract, you must provide the customer with a copy of the signed LDA contract in both English and Spanish. So that's the meaning of the sentence in subsection A. Now the last sentence in subsection A says, quote, the legal document assistant shall be responsible for translating the contract into any language other than English, principally used in any oral sales presentation or negotiation leading to execution of the contract, and shall give all client parties copies of both the fully executed English language version of the contract and the foreign language translation of it before providing any service. End of quote. The LDA is responsible for translating the contract from the foreign language to the English language for the customer to keep before any services are rendered by the LDA for the customer. Given that a contract is a legal document, if you don't feel comfortable translating it yourself, you can use a vendor to translate your contract for you. Next, let's talk specifically about the terms found in the standard LDA contract. Section B states the title is Legal Document Assistant Contract for Self-Help Services. So this contract And again, a copy is in the link of the description of this video below. The contract contains the parties' contact information, important notices indicating that the LDA is not an attorney, that the LDA can and cannot perform certain services, that the LDA cannot give legal advice, that the county clerk has not approved the knowledge, experience, or quality of the LDA's work, that the LDA cannot mislead the client or keep the self-represented litigant's original documents, that the LDA does not have special influence with any state or federal agency. Also, the standard LDA contract also describes what self-help services are specifically. The contract goes into under the fees and expenses section. It includes two types of payment structures that the parties can use, such as a flat fee payment or an hourly rate to be paid by the hour for work performed. The standard contract also goes into how and when a customer can cancel the contract and get a refund. So we've covered a lot today. To summarize, in today's podcast, we covered the LDA Standard Contract. We talked about why we use the contract, because we are required to under California law. We talked about what the terms and disclosures required are in the contract. And finally, we discussed the mandatory translation requirements when entering into contracts with non-English speakers. It's important that your contract follows the law to protect both you and your consumer. Thank you.